Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I am Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and I have one of my favorite guests in studio, Anthony Lambatos from Footers Catering. So we have a monthly show with you. The last couple months have been a little bit crazy in the catering business, and every time I talk to you, you seem to be expanding in one area or another. We got the My Tribe out there.
Yep.
So what is new for you in the month of August?
Well, yes, it is crazy. We are in the thick of our busy season, and that's awesome. We love it. We kind of thrive on it and get into our groove. And so this time of year to be part of so many special celebrations, it's awesome. The weather, it can always be a challenge. So we've had a lot of plan Bs with some of the torrential downpours that have come through. But overall, our team just continues to inspire me, and I'm so impressed with what they're able to put together. We had a huge event 2 weeks ago for 4,000 people, and for our team to execute that event, and basically, I can't take any credit for it. Not the sale of it, not the planning of it, not the execution of it. And they already said, we want you back next year. I don't think there's any greater, sense of pride that I've had than those moments where they just know what they're doing and they execute and they nail it. And I didn't even have to be part of it. It's a really cool thing.
That is a really cool thing. It's kind of like letting your kid go off to college and seeing them get all their A's, and you weren't the alarm clock every morning, right?
That's right. Yes. So yeah, it's good. And yeah, My Tribe continues to be great. We got some people coming from Baltimore in a couple weeks here. So we're excited to have them for 2 days in our culture immersion program. And life's good.
Fantastic. I love hearing that life is good. But Cobert's got a couple of things going on too, so always sign up for that at cobrt.com/events. It's been a crazy couple of months. I have to ask you something that came to mind just a second ago. What is the ideal weather for you guys? Albeit if the event is inside, weather's never going to matter. But if you've got an outdoor venue, what's ideal?
Oh yeah, if you can just get sunny and 75 degrees, we're in good shape.
All right, so I'm going to start hiring Storm from the X-Men.
No, and Colorado, really, we're fortunate. I mean, you've got the rainstorms that come in, and then usually they'll blow out pretty quickly.
Right.
And so it's just a timing game of like, when do you put those linens out? And when do you, make sure you have towels to go wipe down all the ceremony chairs. But it works out. So.
Yeah, and I imagine after years of honing that skill, and we know around 2 o'clock every day it's going to rain.
We have our weekly meeting, and one of our pastry chef, she's always the one that's checking the weather. She's like, it looks like we have got 70% chance of rain on Saturday, so everybody be aware of that.
I love it. You should have a weather person, of course, on your team.
Yeah, keeping tabs on it.
Awesome. Well, speaking of great things that you've got going on, what we always talk about in here is creating a great place to work. Mm-hmm. And I love that we don't typically talk hospitality and the catering industry.
Yes.
But today we are a little bit.
That's right. We've got an amazing guest, one of my best friends. He is the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at JDK Group in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And the cool thing about the JDK Group and Footers is we're almost like sister companies. We have an incredible relationship. We've had it for years. And we have a lot of the same philosophies when it comes to creating a great place to work, taking care of your people, being intentional about developing culture. And so Steve Sanchez is here today. Like I said, one of my dear friends who share so many of these same, just philosophies about how a company should be run. And so it's an honor to have you here today. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And Anthony, thank you for thinking of me for this. Excited to chat and talk a little bit about culture and developing people.
Exactly. Have some conversation. Spread some knowledge.
Yeah, share the wealth.
Exactly.
That's right. So, JDK Group is the largest caterer in the Harrisburg area, and one of the cool things that I want you to just talk about a little bit is how JDK is not just a catering company. So tell us a little bit about JDK and what you do, how long you've been with the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny that you say we're not just a caterer, because that is something that we actually say to our team all the time. Like, we're more than just catering and events. We just so happen to do that part of our business. So, the core of our business is full service catering events, floor design and decor, and event management production. I think I just mentioned we started to integrate marketing into our business, which is pretty unique and different for a caterer. But
and when you say integrate, I mean, you've set up a separate company.
Completely. We have it in our P&L. It has its own line items. We have a graphic designer, web developer who has nothing to do with catering. He's not working catering events. He's not setting up florals. So yeah, it is very interesting that we have that part of our business. But at the core, I think, our mantra for, we've been in business almost 30 years, crazy. Very similar. Footers and JDK have a similar kind of legacy as far as time goes, and we've evolved over the years. And I think the thing that's continued to help us to stay relevant is, at the end of the day, our one mission is to build relationships with people. At the authentic, pure relationships is the core of our business, and that means that tomorrow we could start a trash business if we wanted, because we just want to serve and help others. And I think when you look at our why, that has always been the core, because you got to do this for more. There's always something more than that. And I think the relationships that we've gained with our team, our clients, the community, it's been fundamental for our business. So
that's awesome. So let's talk about, creating a great place to work. And you and I, for a long time, have said this conversation has to move away from ping pong tables and perks.
Absolutely.
In your opinion, summarize what you think it takes to create a great place to work.
Sure. I think, at the core, I think people forget it has to be the people. It's the talent and the passion that you have in the building. At the end of the day, one or two individuals can help to run a business, but the core of your employees have to live, and they have to be passionate about what they're doing, and they have to resonate some sort of skill or interest. And I think that has always been the benefit. If we can find people that care and want to be the best version of themselves, we can teach them, the skills. A lot of times we've had some of the greatest candidates come through our building that have resumes so extensive, and you find that a young, hungry person might reach them faster than someone that has a lot of credibility or a lot of degrees. So I would say it definitely starts with the people, and then continuing to cultivate your mission and your purpose and your why. At the end of the day, people need a vision. They need something to look forward to. They need to something that they can grow or work towards, because just a group of passionate people sitting in a room isn't going to do anything unless they have something, a goal to reach and a purpose. So,
so let's talk about identifying that passion, because I think that's one of the things that you're brilliant at, and in many of our conversations I think you are able to snuff that out. Tell us a little bit about how you do that in the interview process, and just when you see people, how are you able to pull that out that's maybe a little bit deeper than just the person that's clearly over the top?
I think people may think I'm a little crazy. We're pretty big in our interview process, and as we grow, we try to expand with our team, and we're teaching our managers. But I'm very big at asking more behavioral based questions and learning more about them as individuals as opposed to necessarily the skill, because at the end of the day, we all know everyone can interview well. Like, you can pull on your suit, come on in with your briefcase, and really shine. But it's those questions when you talk about things like conflict or challenges and specific examples and criticism, things that people don't ever want to talk about. I think vulnerability is huge, and if you're able to gain that vulnerability from an individual, you could see where they shine and where maybe they're not so comfortable. And I think that passion always prevails, that excitement and enthusiasm for something, like whether anything that you have. I think we can see that. But we do personality tests, we do DISC tests for our team, and then we actually have them also meet with other team members for interviews. So it's not just their direct supervisor. We feel like if you're going to come into this group and you're going to be engaged with us, you got to meet everybody. And I always use this reference, it's a little crazy, but it's like we're like a family. But so you're going to have conflict with your brothers and sisters, but they may, they're very protective, so they're kind of like piranhas in the beginning. But after you get through those layers, you're perfectly fine. They just care, and they just want the best for each other and the team. So
yeah, I love that. And I've talked about it a handful of times. For us, we use the value cards. Where somebody comes in and we give them the deck of cards, and they have to pick the 5 that they most live their life by. And I agree. takes the interview in a different direction. It's away from all the questions they thought they were going to be asked and they're prepared for with a canned answer. And you start to get to know them as a person. And I love the fact that you said vulnerability, because when somebody's willing to be vulnerable in an interview, you know you're getting that real person.
Yeah.
And yet so many are coached to not show that and put up that wall and put that polish on. But when you break through on that, it's, for me, and I know for you as well, it's almost that exciting part of like, okay, great. Now I know what I'm getting into. I don't have to dig and figure out, like, a month later, I'm going to uncover what you were trying to cover up.
Exactly. That's, yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually intrigued by the fact that you have other employees do interviews along the way.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to make sure everyone gets along. Do they come to you with planned questions? How does that process work a little bit?
Yeah,
that's
it's a good question, because I think people are really surprised when I'll say, okay, you're going to sit down with another team member, you're going to get to like kind of walk around, see a day in the life of our operation, and I say, ask any questions, ask about work-life balance, ask about what is their hardest day, ask about what their biggest challenges is, because naturally I want them to know, like, it's not every day isn't going to be easy.
Don't paint that pretty picture.
And there's going to be some really amazing days, and there's going to be some tough days. I mean, that is the cycle of life, but I think I want people to be, at the end of the day, I want people to be happy at work and love what they do. And any way that I can get them to that process, to learning the ins and outs, the truth, I think it's important. So they do have questions that they ask, but for the most part, it's just like relationship, like, just like, what do you do? Like, where do you come from? Like, do you have kids? Do you have siblings? Like, they'll ask questions, like, they're very engaged with just like knowledge about the person, like background, like, when you have somebody that's more in HR, like, interviewing a salesperson, it's very different, but they're still asking questions more about their day-to-day, but then kind of giving them information about the catering business. We have people that are in the hospitality world, and we have people that have never stepped foot in it at all. So it all depends on kind of their experience.
I love hiring those people.
Yeah, totally.
Because like you said, I mean, there's
Fresh
so many things
perspective.
that we can teach, but that fresh perspective of bringing in expertise from a different industry, or just a different light on, like, not somebody telling you, oh, I did it this way before and I used to do it this way. And it's like, yeah, all right, that's great. But like, I want somebody that has that fresh spin of like, question me. Let's learn why. Why is this important? Why do you do it this way?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. So, the other thing you talked about was being intentional about the vision and what are you working towards? Talk a little bit about how you do that at JDK.
Sure. I think, it's very interesting when, we say we're more than just a caterer, and we say at the end of the day, we're doing this for something more, to make a difference in someone's life. And people are like thinking like, what are you talking about? Like, and I'm like, and then they like go and talk to the next person. They're like, oh my gosh, that person's saying the same thing. Like, are they robots? And you're like, no, it's just genuinely, we understand that we want to make a difference. And I think when they can see that the relationships, whether it's a website that someone's doing, or if it's, a floral piece for someone who just passed away for a funeral, or, it's this amazing plated display for food for an event of a 125th anniversary, like, you can see that the depth of the care and the why is there. So as far as vision, we're very, very transparent. We've moved extremely focused on not only where our annual revenue is to be, but the type of clients that we're looking for, the services that we offer. Everyone is part of that. So they're clear of the type of business that we do serve, black and white on paper, that falls within the catering events, the floral and job design, and the production piece. But as far as where we're going, like we have an annual event that we host where we kind of give the vision for the year. We give out awards. Anthony and I are very similar with our culture there. We have quarterly town halls where we just update them on where we're at. So where have we been, not only fiscally, but what were some big events that we hosted and that we made an impact for. What's going on, what new team members are hired, and where are they at in the process. Anything that we can inform or keep our team clear. One of the biggest things in the past 3 years that they've really hyper-focused on is they want more communication. So we're even, sending out weekly emails of just what our clients are saying, like positive things that our clients say. It's just super cool. On a Friday, you get this email of like, here's what's happening at JDK, here's upcoming things, but like, kudos to all of you of what you did, your hard work. Like, this is what our clients are saying. So any information that we can, we're constantly keeping them focused. And, everyone as a whole, on a business perspective, I'm very big on saying, sales is not just the sales team's problem. Like, it's a group. Like, everyone is responsible for this because, when you walk out and you're at the grocery store and someone sees you with the JDK logo, like, that's an opportunity to share our passion, share your vision, share what you do, be excited and proud. And I think we've really made some major waves with getting everyone involved. And I'm really proud of everybody this year for, like, recognizing the importance and not really being in silos when it comes to that.
Yeah, having visited you, numerous times, I've definitely seen that, and it's one of the things I love about your team. They take so much pride in what they do and the JDK, brand and family. You definitely can feel that. The other thing you touched on that I wanted to go back to was, really understanding who we're working for. And I know we've had numerous conversations with others in the catering industry, and I think it astounds us at how this is a concept that isn't embraced more by others in our industry. Yeah. That once the event is sold, the relationship, from what I think we've seen, it stays really with the salesperson, and that's the only person that really understands the event. And the best companies that really have teams that are committed to what they're doing are able to translate who they're doing the event for and let everybody know on their team. So, as you said, why am I making this floral arrangement? Why is this hors d'oeuvre important to the bride and groom? And, like on ours, we are big on not just having, a number that, that this is event number 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, no, this is Amy and Sean's wedding, and they're getting married here, and this is why they chose us, and this is why this menu is important to them. And then all of a sudden, as people are doing the prep work for that, there's a little bit more meaning in that. And I think, you alluded to that here, but I've seen you do that as well, where it's really putting a face and an identity on who you're doing the event for.
I think, it's so interesting. We're very similar with this. We move so fast in business, and you have a product, you get it, it's solid, and then you just want to expedite it out. And then we just forget, this is people's lives, in any aspect. And I think, that story is so fundamental in where we're at as far as, that wedding celebration, or if it's an anniversary, or if it's, it's just a small party. I always say to our team, you don't understand that this might be the first time and the last time they'll ever have a catered event.
Uh-huh.
And so it needs to be that special. And there's a story. So what is it? So, with our team, even with websites, and that's the design side, we're doing a website for a resort, and they're looking to expand themselves to grow pretty national, and it's local. But that's an important thing. They're family-owned business. They want to change the game in the resort industry by being focused on family and the experience that they get, which is very different than a lot of corporate conglomerate. So that's the same investment that we're putting into that website. It's just the same that we would put into the plate of food that we're serving, or the floral for somebody who's having a special wedding celebration. So. Everything that we have, people are aware of the story. So, and that gives them an opportunity to over-deliver too. So you might find the groom. This is a great story. Jay knew that the groom loved these ice cream sandwiches, and we didn't necessarily have them. We just had them ice cream station. So Jay, particularly that day, was our executive chef. Made sure that day he brought cookies and he made the groom ice cream sandwiches, and you should have seen the face of this guy when the executive chef came and gave him this.
Amazing.
And it's just those types of things is what you live for, that excitement, and
yes.
That you've changed someone's life, or you have a feeling that they're going to remember forever.
Yes, exactly. And that's your point was right on. With this transcends industries. We get to talk about catering, and yes, there's a lot of fun and opportunities to do this, but I think in any industry, you have an opportunity when you understand why somebody is doing something, whether it's growth, whether it's, this, and you can all of a sudden put yourself in their mindset and their view and help them along. You can have a powerful impact on people.
Absolutely.
And it really moves the needle when it comes to business, and I think separates some of the people that are uber successful and some of the people that just, plug along.
Absolutely.
So talk about some of the stuff culture-wise. I know we're always trying different things and new
Sure,
things
yeah.
here and there. Tell me about, something that you tried on the culture front that didn't necessarily work.
Oh, that's good. I like that didn't work because we're just popping out things all the time. I think to me, it's anything that, and I'm just a big person of inclusion, but also balancing the general group. So, like I'm all about having a survey that goes out and like everyone be participatory of it. But then there's just something in your innate as running a business that you see these people every day and you innately know maybe something that they don't know they even need. And I think that's just like your clients. Like there's just things that you just don't even know that you need. And that big of difference and that kind of innovation to step up and challenge people, I think is when the best culture things come out. So, they might say, like we're going to go do a Hershey Park trip, and it makes sense because we got a discounted rate, and Hershey Park is so cool because it's, Pennsylvania, and then like the amount of people that signed up wasn't a lot. And then you like start to backtrack and you say, well, okay, they want to spend time with each other. This kind of separates them because now you're going to be having to go into groups. So we would kind of realize we used to do a happy hour, basically always fulfilled a mission before it. So it was either related to our core values or a town hall. And then we had an outside caterer, either a barbecue or tacos or somebody. And then we had like games and that kind of stuff. And that just worked so well. Attendance was so high. And when we looked at it, it was just like, that's what they needed. They wanted that time with each other, just hanging out when they didn't have to work. So I would say like the Hershey Park thing, great planning, super cool, but total bomb.
We've definitely had a couple of those, but I think that to your point, there's also an element where as senior leaders, sometimes you can see the bigger picture of how things piece together. And, Culture Club for us, we talk about fun. So that's a key component, but we're not just party planning. We need to figure out ways to build relationships with one another, and we need to recognize people for the work they're doing and recognize the work of the team and why that's enabled us to do some of those fun things, like happy hours or go to Hershey Park or whatever else it is. Those are three things that we really try to keep forefront for us. But yeah, that's a good one. Right now, so we launched these 30-day challenges. And it started off really great. So every month there's a 30-day challenge at Footers. And, the first one was like a fitness challenge. And there was 20, 30 different exercises you could do. And it wasn't necessarily who could work out the most. It was who could do the most variety of things. And there were different point levels. And so it was a lot of fun and people got competitive. And then we had the gratitude challenge. And we had a couple of really good ones. And then it kind of started to fizzle out a little bit. And we were like, okay, well, what are we missing here? And so it was cool because we had a couple of ones that just went along that same path and they weren't nearly as successful. And we realized we had to do something completely different. And so each month now, it's like there was one that was I Spy Jimmy. And so there were these little pictures of my dad that were posted, and each week it would change where they're at in the building. And like people walking around together trying to find these little things. I never would have imagined that would have been something people were excited to do, but it was like this addicting thing. And this one person goes, I can't believe how much fun I'm having looking for these things.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta hand it to you. So it's gone from this like challenge to like more of just something fun. And this month we have mini golf set up in we homemade a mini golf
awesome.
course.
I saw it. I'm excited to play today.
Yes. So come on over and play, Alex. But yeah, we went to Home Depot, got a bunch of supplies, and homemade a mini golf course that each week it's changing. So there's new obstacles and it's moving different parts of our building.
Who built the windmill?
We don't have a windmill yet, but we have some good stuff. So it's cool. But my point being, something for us, we always are trying to iterate. And when something's not working, okay, how do we just tweak it? How do we modify it? How do we make it better every day, so that it can improve and it can continue to evolve? And I think that's something that is pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely. I am thoroughly enjoying this conversation, but unfortunately, we do have to take a quick break here on Connect and Collaborate. So stay with us. In the meantime, like and subscribe to our YouTube page. You can find this podcast and more at cobrt.com. JDK.com/radio, type in Anthony Lambatos, type in Footers Catering, creating a great place to work, or just scroll down on the page. We've got your own little setup there for all the shows that we have done with you. You always bring me great people. Steve Sanchez, you are no different. You are on par with everyone that's been with us. But we're going to continue this conversation, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connect and Collaborate. Once again, I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, here in studio with Anthony Lambatos of Footers Catering and Steve Sanchez of JDK Group out of Harrisburg. Harrisburg,
that's correct. Yes.
All right. Pennsylvania. And we don't normally talk catering. We don't normally talk hospitality. And we kind of aren't anyway, to be honest with you. But you guys are sister companies, so to speak. And so you both started out as a catering company and doing events. And then you realized what joy you brought to people doing those events. So you both decided to expand, and you've got some amazing things that you both do for your companies. And we always talk about creating a great place to work and specifically developing people to make that great place to work.
Yeah, I'm excited to jump into this topic because, as we said, it's creating that great place to work. We've mentioned some things about vision. We've mentioned some things about people being passionate about what they're doing. I believe that opportunities to grow and for people to really get that fulfillment, that has to exist. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to move up the ladder when it comes to, promotions here and there. But if I'm not growing personally, if I'm not challenged, there's I just think you're missing out on an opportunity. And Steve, at the JDK Group, I'm going to have you talk a lot about what you do because it's phenomenal where you start way early helping people develop. But there's so many people that I've talked to, and I always love to ask the question, when they've been at a job for a long time, like, well, why have you been there for so long? And never once have I heard somebody say, well, it's really easy.
Yeah.
Like, nobody says that.
No one says
nobody's
that.
like, well, I just kind of kick back.
around.
Like they say things like, it's really challenging, or, I get to use my brain every day, or it's,
Yes.
And they don't say like, well, it's got great benefits either. They say, I love the people I work with, or I, feel like I'm appreciated for what I do. These are things that aren't necessarily a big monetary outlay, but these are the things that people really value. So I want to spend some time talking about how you develop people, how you help them grow. And I know you've done so much of that. So, Steve, why don't you talk a little bit about your approach to developing people?
Sure. It's funny that you say about why people say what they work. I say every day that no day is ever the same. I know when I walk into the building, it is going to be a completely different thing every single day. And I mean, that's why I love what I do.
Yeah.
But as far as developing people, I think, we kind of talk about hiring. I'm a big proponent for passion, naturally. Resilience, because this isn't an easy business. You got to get back up. But
and
the third
things always go wrong.
Always.
I mean, we have so many variables in our business, and it's fun to be able to chat with you about that because I think we can relate. But there's so many variables in what we do that there's no way that everything can go exactly as planned. And so our teams have to be ready to adapt and know that, this is the rough framework, but it's going to switch a little bit. What is it? Jen DeLay always says that we're combat trained, right? Your owner.
She's a queen of saying we're Navy SEALs of the food business. So we're out there with a piece of gum and a matchstick in the middle of a field, which is true. We can make anything happen. But I think the third one is the willingness to grow and learn. It's always been, I'm a huge person of wanting to employ people that want to get better. And it doesn't mean, tomorrow you're going to be the CEO, but you want a path. And I think I've always, with our team, inspired everyone to question what they want to be. And some people will be in an interview and say, I want to be a salesperson, and then one day I want to own a venue. Or, I want to give this a whirl, and then maybe I want to try a different industry. And I think those things are so important for us to know because it gives us a path or a direction of where these individuals can grow. And sometimes they don't know what they want to do. And I think that's just as important as knowing. Personally, I actually was a bio major and thought I was going to go into med school. And here I am running a catering and event business. So our CEO, similar, she was a bacteriology major and she got into food service, thought she was going to, cure Ebola. Things have changed. But I think my story is very, very similar to some of our team members as I came in with background in hospitality, and a passion for events and marketing, and I've moved through the company through that, where to the point we started a marketing division, and now we're doing outside marketing, websites, promotional materials, social media. So I think some of our greatest employees have brought that to the table, and I think, I'm a big proponent for business and making sure that we have a strategy and a vision, and very, very particular about org charts. But I think what's the best part is when you learn about someone and their path, it can clear and kind of refocus a need. And I think we've always been able to identify a position for an employee based off some type of skill or passion that they have. So some of our greatest positions, they didn't even exist. They're not, industry-wide, they're not part of a typical business org chart. So a lot of those have to do with innovation and with people. So working through that and seeing a path of development has been key. Would have to say we move people up pretty quickly at JDK. We have a lot of team members who have just put in the work and aggressively have moved into some amazing positions. Our managers, our directors are very young, but they're very talented. So I think giving them the tools to succeed and definitely not micromanaging has been huge.
Well, and like at Footers, I think that you have had people where the position has basically been built around them, right? Like they have proved themselves as a valuable piece within the company and carved out a niche of like, here's what I do and here's why it's important. And I think that that's a really cool thing, that not all businesses will adapt to that and not all businesses will subscribe to that notion. But you're another company like us that have found success doing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at it, even from a business perspective, like, I think everyone, the cliche sometimes, like, if you can dream it or do it, and that's who we are. But our CEO has been, she's a very serial entrepreneur, and like, that door cracks open and I'm just nervous what the next business is going to be, because I know we're going to be on to something great. But I think, as funny as it is, it's true. And like, where do you get the opportunity to say, hey, you're a catering business, but you want to start a floor and design company? Well, if you can show that it's profitable and you can make money and you can build a team that can do that, awesome, go ahead. Hey, you want to do marketing and you want to sell websites and it's nothing relevant to food and beverage? Hey, if you can, get a P&L and structure this appropriately and make some money, hey, like, go ahead and live your passion. So I think that unique strategy has been huge for us, and I think it's why we've been able to diversify through 2008 in a recession and be in business for 30 years. Is you just I'm a huge person of you have to have the ability to adapt on a dime. Like, you have to be able to. So
I want to ask about that, because one word that comes to mind is agility. How do you hire for agility?
That's a great question. I think, it's kind of with the resilience, like from the get-go, like you walk into the building and you're like, might be some crazy people. So you have to be able to know that, like I said, no day is ever the same. So I think when we're asking questions, a lot of our behavior-based questions are like, what happened, like change. Our CEO is a huge proponent for change. I'm a proponent for change. So like, what are circumstances where, things didn't go exactly as planned? Could you describe it? And if it's something that makes people too uncomfortable, we definitely know you're not the right place for us. You're going to get a plan of progress of where you're going to be, and you're going to have a training outline of what you need to accomplish. It's going to be self-guided, and you're going to have a slew of people that are there for you. But at the end of the day, like, if you can't do it yourself and manage yourself, like, it's not going to work out. So I think that is probably where they're super agile, is you kind of have to figure a lot of things out yourself in our business.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your internship program, because I think that this is something. What do you have, 25 interns over the summer?
A little crazy. So our internship program has been a great platform for us to help to develop and grow people. And it's kind of, everyone asks, like, how do you get this like preview taste into this crazy business? And I always have used our internship program, where we kind of have different layers of going through, it's pretty extensive, of going through our business. But the internship program gives everyone an opportunity to learn the aspects of, from marketing to sales and the event planning, culinary, HR, operations. So we have about every summer between about 16 to 25 interns, which is crazy.
Yes.
And they all have a direct supervisor, which is one of either sales or marketing, and our team has really created this program where they come in and the first initial thing is, what do you want to gain out of this? Why are you here? And they fill out this information, and the goal is to get those things checked off. Like, we're just not a company where it's like, you're gonna get coffee for us. Like, at the end of the day, we're probably getting coffee for you. So I'm like, why am I always the one getting them coffee?
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy, but we follow that plan, and then halfway through it, we realize, kind of evaluate with them and see, is this the right direction? We've have interns move to other departments because they just weren't feeling fulfilled in what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is it's helped us first to get a group of young people to understand this business. And, it's not a business that everyone wants to go into right now. At the end of the day, it's not the pretty picture that you see. And they get an opportunity to work and live that. But they also, my favorite thing is telling someone, you know what, when you finish this internship program and you say you don't want to do this, that's great.
It's done its job.
Yeah, it's done its job.
Mm-hmm.
The even better for our company is that they're ready for the next step. So we have an apprenticeship program that they move into under their direct supervisor as a potential full-time hire. So a lot of our team has gone through this internship program. Our director of marketing, she actually was one of my first interns, and she has just moved her way up through the business and just really gave a skill and kind of helped our direction of where the company is going as far as marketing externally. But she would have never got that opportunity if she didn't have the internship program, because at that point I was the only marketer back then, and it just wasn't it just didn't fit in the model. So I think it's been able to help us and show the team that there's a lot of potential out there.
It's incredible how many of your full-time employees started as interns.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's a tribute to what you've built, and like you said, catering's not an industry that there's a lot of people talking about you should go into catering. And I think it's something that there's so many connotations to what catering is, right? Like, there's every restaurant, we do catering. And it's like, yeah, but like full service catering is a little bit different. The work that you and I do is on a different level. And when you look at within our various companies, we've got, 5 different career paths with the different departments we have for people to go and make a living and do something that's not just, I think what everybody thinks is I'm just going to be a server.
Yep.
And servers are like, we've got some amazing career servers. That's one piece of it, but there's so much more beyond that, whether it's the sales or the culinary or the logistics and operations or the financial side of things. There's so many paths. So to expose people to that is brilliant, and I applaud you for what you've done.
Thank you.
to do that.
Yeah, it's a little surreal because, like, I think about it, I'm like, we wouldn't have a copywriter or digital marketer if we didn't have the internship program, because who's going to hire that person? Like, we didn't even know it was a need until we saw that as an opportunity to help expand the website of our business through someone that was interested as an intern. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how you balance an internship, and this is something that I think we have to. There's a lot of people that would ask how an intern, you have to manage them all the time, you have to do that, but I think you have a little bit different approach to that, where it's more empowering them. Talk about your approach to how you're able to manage that many interns.
Sure. I think that's always the first question that we get asked is like, okay, so you have all these interns and now everyone's like, I have to manage them. And it's when you look at it, it's such an added benefit to the business. Number one, we're fulfilling part of our mission of helping others. And number two, like, this is a potential person that's getting a taste of our business that could be with us for the next 5 years. And I think when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, oh, okay, like, it's a trial too. You get to see the candidate for who they are. We definitely have training guides for each area from sales. So a lot of our training just in general is very much already pre-automated, and they go in and they check and they have to accomplish certain things, write proposals, check sales, like that kind of stuff. Marketing, it's the whole thing of like, they learn the intricacies of graphic design and they start doing menus for our team, and then it moves up from there. So I would say we've used a Asana project management tool to be able to kind of standardize this. So they go in, they meet with their advisor, they go through that process, and then they kind of are self-running through this online system of, did I accomplish this? Did I accomplish this? Did I accomplish this? We use Slack for obviously communicating. So they have questions with their supervisor. They need something approved. We're very much using technology to get kind of those quick answers. So, and of course, I mean, it's an open door. Anybody can ask any kind of question. So.
I also want to change the connotation, I think, for interns is a big deal. Everyone thinks they're 16 to 18-year-olds, maybe 20, right?
Yeah.
With the workforce changing the way it is, you can have somebody who's 30 who's entering back in, somebody who's 50 who's retired but still wants to do something else, right? And so your interns don't look like these babies coming out of high school all the time, too. And you still get that fresh perspective from somebody who's been in a different industry sometimes.
It's funny you say that because everyone forgets this to talk about that. We have so many people that want to change their industry. Like they're literally in finance and they're like, I just want a career change. Yeah. And my first thing is, what are you doing? Stay where you're at. No,
are you sure you want to come to catering?
Come into this. But then my second is, why don't you just give it a try? Like before you sign yourself up to this full-time thing, why don't you try it out, an apprenticeship or an internship program? So, I mean, we do that all the time, especially with event planners.
And it gives you a chance to get to know them too on a temporary basis to
beneficial
understand
for the
like
company.
that person is going to be amazing and that person is really going to be a great fit. You get to see how they work, how they operate. It's it's really brilliant. I love what you said about parameters and guidelines because I think that's at the crux of how you can feel secure letting somebody else do, empowering them, right? If we can create a floor, a trapeze safety net of like, okay, I know if you make mistakes, it's only going to be this bad, right? This is the worst thing that can happen. And can I live with that? Yeah, I can live with that if that happens. The chance of it happening may be small, but I know that worst case scenario, the place isn't going to burn down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We may have to do a little bit of damage control here or there, but that's how people learn. And when we get into this idea that everything has to be done to the same 110% that I would do it, and nobody does it better than me, we start depriving people of opportunities to grow. Mm-hmm. And when we can take a step back, and I know this is sacrilege to say of like, but are you okay sometimes with 90% of what you would do? Like, is it worth it to have somebody else take on that task at 90% and have them learn what it takes to get to that 10%? I would argue yes.
I would absolutely agree. I think we're very similar with that. I'm a person that definitely loves things to be perfect. There's no perfection. Completion is the success. And I think it's interesting because I do say that to our team. I say, imagine all these game-changing ideas that you guys have. Like if you could this person gets a trial to that.
Yes.
And if we didn't do it at all, then it didn't happen. Like I'd rather it happen and maybe it didn't succeed than it didn't happen at all. So
right.
I think it's a huge, huge thing.
It's okay. You have to create a safe place for them to be able to fail.
Absolutely. You have to fail to succeed.
Uh-huh. Talk a little bit about, what else you do to develop people. How do you help them continue to grow once they've become on board? You've gone through the internship, you've gone through the apprentice, you're now on board. Talk a little bit about how you help your team grow from there.
Sure, that's a good question. Definitely education. I think anything that we can do to be able to them step outside of our area or step outside this industry to educate themselves has been huge. I know myself, like learning this business and meeting some great peers. Anthony has been so beneficial for our business and our growth and my personal friendship. But I'm really huge on trying to get them to step outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and live and learn. And so whether it's sending them to a conference or connecting them with an industry peer or providing, educational things like, maybe books to read. As a group, we have leadership meetings where we, watch videos and we talk about different things. We try some sort of inspiration or leadership, especially with our directors and managers, because a lot of them are very young. So, it might be the first time that they've ever had an employee that they manage, and that's a challenging thing. So. Definitely, it's working with them on the next steps, but most of the time, I think the biggest thing that we've been able to do is provide some sort of education so they can expand their knowledge.
Yeah, I love that because that's, growing young leaders, right? We're in the same boat where we have a lot of people at Footers that have never been in the position they're in right now. Like they've never done it somewhere else. And so and a lot of them, it's their first time managing people or being in a leadership position. And so, we've taken the onus on us. How do we, design this for them? And I'm big right now on the, designing the leader you want to be is kind of the big,
I love that.
I'm going through that process personally so that then we can do it as a team and I can do it with all of our people. So I'd like to transition a little bit to that. For you, what do you think some of the biggest lessons you've learned as a leader are?
Oh, this is good. Back to that perfection thing, I think that's probably it. It's never going to be as you see it in your mind. And you're going to have a lot of bumps along the way. I think, I really implemented that this year. We have a big strategic plan for growth and change. And it was almost like I had to tell everyone, but also tell myself that the ability to adapt and change. And, this plan is going to sound really great. And we're all super excited. And so many of our leadership team has been involved in this change based on the feedback of our employees and the benefit of the future of our company. But it's not going to go as planned. So in 6 months, we might need to tweak it a little bit and move in a different direction. Same destination, just different direction to get there. And I think that as a leader has been one of the biggest things is the destination isn't changing, it's just how we're getting there.
Yes.
So.
Love that. Talk about how you personally, you do such a great job of getting the videos and doing stuff for your team. What do you do on your side to help you develop as a leader?
That's a great question. I love human relationships with anyone. Like I say, pure relationships is just who we are. So I love people. Anybody I can meet and learn from, I want to just suck everything out of them. Just the life. I just love it. So I definitely, obviously, read and go to conferences and engage in a lot of sessions within our industry, but also outside of this industry, because I think it's important, no matter what business you're in, to see and explore other things. Traveling and experiencing life is one of the biggest things I feel like for me, that it gets me just restored and energized, and I'm able to bring that back to our team. So just learning something and talking with people in our industry or peers, and just having that has been just a huge help. I know Anthony and I sit in a couple different groups within our business, where one of them we have a monthly call, and sometimes it's just all about a topic or something to do with their business. Sometimes it's completely just what's going on in your life, and I think that has been huge for me as a leader, to be vulnerable with my peers and myself, to say, hey, you know what, this is amazing, but you know what, this really sucks. This isn't going well.
I'm struggling here.
Yeah.
2 points I want to touch on there. The getting out of the office, traveling, doing something. I was struggling for a while of not being present, and the beauty is when you do those things and you're present and you're there, you start to observe everything around you, and whether it's a conversation with a random person on the beach, or whether it's something you see, an interaction between two people at a rental car counter, or you just start to be present to everything that's going on around you. And I love being able to pick up those little nuggets of, like, that's interesting, let me take that, how does that apply to our business, and how do we take this? And I had gotten out of that habit, and so I love that you said that, because as I'm trying to be more intentional about that, moving back in that way, it's brilliant. It opens up a world of possibilities. So I really appreciate you saying that. The other thing that I have to brag about this a little bit, because I think it was a really cool thing that our two companies have been able to do. We realized that there was a gap. We'd go to the main conference, which is great. And we do, lots of great education. But what we were missing was some specific one-on-one interaction. And so we set up this thing where we said, okay, we're going to bring 4 of our people to your facility. And then, they brought 6 of their people to our facility. And we started realizing, like, this is really valuable for us to go into each other's home and just ask questions. Because there's certain things that I would never talk about. We had something today.
Yeah,
I would have never thought to talk about the labeling. And this is a game changer. This is amazing. But it was all because of something that he saw within our facility.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be intentional about setting these things up and bringing our people together and creating a space for them to be like, well, how do you handle this? And how do you handle this has been brilliant. And it's cool to watch our teams thrive and, grow together. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
One of my favorite things about this show, and I'm not shy about saying that you're one of my favorite guests, because it's very true. I always take a little bit of nuggets, right?
I hope so.
From every guest that you bring in, and truly apply it personally to my life. So one of my favorite things that I think you said today was continue to cultivate your why. And I think that was very beautifully said. So I appreciate your time, Steve Sanchez of JDK Group. So I enjoy your time here in Colorado. And
Thank you.
Anthony.
It's been an honor.
Oh, wonderful. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks. Great
Yes.
to be here.
Fantastic. One more time, be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube page while you're here. You can find this podcast and more at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. Go ahead and sign up for our newsletter while you're there. Check out our events page as well. And occasionally those are catered by Footers Catering. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.